Thompson.
Half hour from right now in the Morning Blaze, an update on the rodeo clown situation in Missouri. The Missouri rodeo clown update of the day. Sadly, we continue to have updates from the rodeo clown story that really wasn't a story to begin with. Speaking of illegals, New Mexico Supreme Court has had a landmark case. My producer Skip Lacombe has done extensive research on landmark cases as well as New Mexico.
Yes.
What is your extensive research on New Mexico? What is where did you?
I lived there for 25 years of my life.
The Supreme Court is cautioning trial courts and attorneys that citizens who don't speak English have the right to serve on juries.
That don't speak English?
Right.
How are they going to serve on the jury then?
Well, they didn't lay that out. That's not for the Supreme Court of New Mexico to decide. That's just their ruling. You got to figure that out locally. See, they issued this ruling that upholds an Albuquerque's man conviction for murder and other crimes and the bludgeoning death of his girlfriend, subsequent armed robbery and stabbing. His name is Michael Samara. He appealed, arguing that his conviction should be reversed because a Bernalillo County judge excused a Spanish-speaking prospective juror who had trouble understanding English. See, if you can't understand English, how are you going to understand the case?
Serious. And I mean, there's rules that are laid out. I mean, the judge in any sort of a trial has implicit instructions for the jury, too. If you can't understand, you shouldn't be able to serve.
Nope. The Supreme Court said it agrees with the argument. It also says his defense needed to object during the trial but didn't, so he's not going to get off likely because of this. But they did set a precedent now that if you can't understand English, you can still serve on a jury. And they didn't lay out that they have to provide interpreters. They did say that judges and lawyers must take reasonable efforts to protect the rights of non-English-speaking citizens to serve on juries, but they didn't say you actually have to understand I guess the only alternative then is you will have to have an interpreter. Couple of problems with that. Number one, I do believe that, you should be allowed to, and you should also be expected to serve on a jury if you are a citizen, period. Even a non-English speaking citizen. But there's two problems. Number one, if you don't speak English and you have an interpreter, we're relying, number one, on the interpreter and the interpreter's interpretation. Something is lost in translation. Things get lost. First of all, translating from one language to another, there are many times where there are not direct words, phrases, or ideas that translate. That is a much less of a concern. I still think you could be an effective juror if you had a translator, but that is certainly a concern of mine. The bigger thing is, when we are $17 trillion in debt, New Mexico certainly is not flush with cash by any means, you are now going to have to hire interpreters. Instead of just accepting as a nation that although we may speak lots of languages, when it comes to doing business in America, we speak one language. When it comes to the law, official proceedings, it will be in one language. And if you would like it in another language, then you can provide for it. We have to recognize that. That's not keeping people down. I think people speaking multiple language is a spectacular thing. In my house, there are multiple languages spoken. Not by me. I can barely get one out. But there are multiple languages being spoken all of the time. So it's not like I'm paranoid about it. I don't like it. I'm frustrated, whatever. It's just not as practical. Some of the interpretation sessions that I have to go through, very taxing, very exhausting. We don't have the money for that as a country, and we certainly don't have the money for it as states. But my real fear about this is that we'll aid in illegals having more rights here in America. You think that's crazy? I laid out on the Glenn Beck television program about a month or so ago how under the Gang of Ocho bill, we are creating a new class of people in America that will have more rights than citizens. And one of the things I laid out is that illegals can vote. In many cases, well, non-citizens can vote at this point. And if the Gang of Ocho bill is passed, or some version of it, illegals will be able to vote. Not in all elections, but in a lot of them. And it goes like this. Voting in America is still, at least in some elections, done locally. So even though we have federal election laws, some of it's done locally. And there are many cities and counties that have passed laws that say that non-citizens can vote. Not illegals, non-citizens, meaning legal residents. The idea is, let's say you are working for an American company, but you grew up somewhere else, some other country, and you are still a citizen of that country. And you take a job, the American company sends you to America, and you live in America and work for that company for 8 years, 10 years. And you're paying taxes to that community. You're a legal resident. You have a green card. You pay taxes. You follow the laws. Well, shouldn't you have some representation in your community? That's the argument. You're paying taxes. You're a resident legally. Shouldn't you have some say about your school board? I mean, you're sending your kids to public school, and you're paying for those schools. Wrong or right, you could make that argument either side. You could object to it. You could say, I can understand their point, but that is their argument about it. And that is the reason you've had cities and counties pass laws that say, yes, those people can vote as long as you are a legal resident. Under the Gang of Ocho bill, all of those illegals would become
legal residents.
So wouldn't they then be able to vote in those cities and counties that have passed it? And why wouldn't other very progressive areas then start passing more and more legislation saying, cities and counties that haven't done it already, that legal residents can vote, now saying those newly legalized residents will vote, thereby creating more and more people who will vote like them, think like them, and fundamentally change America.
Well, and I mean, we've been saying for the longest time, of course this is what they're doing. This plays directly into their plan of getting, 11 million new Democratic voters. That's why from the start they've put this out there. The Democrats have tried to make themselves seem like they're the caring party that just wants everybody to be happy and to have the abilities, when in actuality they're just trying to get new voters for them. And it's clear right here when we see these types of legislations coming out.
And the worst part about this is just one angle. Remember, the Gang of Ocho bill and everything else has dozens and dozens of angles like this to get more people to come here. Make more people citizens, allow them to vote, give them free stuff. They will either not be subjected to the penalties of Obamacare, or they are getting free health care. They're going to be eligible for free health care, or they are not going to be subjected to the penalties and thereby have more rights and more freedoms than citizens. This is what's coming. And I fear rulings like this about the non-English speakers serving on juries in New Mexico will play into that. Folks, it has become so accepted. There is a new mobile app to help illegals in America.
A mobile app.
Now, we saw an app in the past that showed them how to cross the border. Did you see that one a while ago?
Yeah, I did see that.
This one isn't that bad. It's not saying, hey, here's how you can break the law. But this one's still pretty awful. You have people out there that are creating apps to do everything they can. The system is being worked. The pressure is being put on our immigration system in order to destroy it, to overwhelm it from all angles, from the courts, from community groups, from makers of apps. It's the Cloward-Piven strategy. Overwhelm the system, and it will crash down, and people can get what they want. So these immigration advocates launched this new mobile app, and it's designed to help illegals specifically take advantage of President Obama's non-deportation policy for the dreamer immigrants, those that were brought here by their parents through no fault of their own. It's going to help them take advantage of everything that's out there. It's a free app. Imagine that. You're giving something else free. They can't even pay for the app that's going to tell them how to get free stuff. Not even 99 cents. No, it's a free app. It's going to give them advice on how to apply for the program, President Obama's little dreamer program there. It lists groups of immigrants, how they can connect and help get together, solidarity, power in numbers, overwhelm the system, meetup groups, agendas, and it allows users to do a pre-screening interview so they can see if they're likely to qualify for President Obama's programs, including their age, residency requirements. Now, this pre-screening, let's say you don't qualify, Skip. My producer, Skip Lacombe, has done extensive research on not qualifying.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
Let's say you don't qualify. I'm guessing all of those people will just say, oh, darn it, I'm illegal and I don't qualify. I guess I'm going back to Guadalajara. See you later. I'm out of here.
No, of course not. What this app does with a pre-screening is gives them the opportunity to know how to answer those questions.
So it's one of two things. Either they qualify, right? Hey, I qualify. I'm good to go. Or it'll show them how to answer the questions, lie, cheat, come up with a better system so they can still end up passing it illegally to cheat the system. It's teaching them how to cheat.
You answered C on question 3. Why don't you try answer A next time?
Oh, you're right. Now I'm going to be able to get in.
I have been here for more than 14 months. Goodness, I forgot.
That's right. I made that mistake. So that's the one part of the app. It's going to ask them about their age, residency requirements, because like you said, Skibby, you have to be here a certain amount of time, but you can't been here for too long. I think the cutoff was 37, 34, something like that.
I
could
don't
be up
remember
there, mid-30s.
But yeah.
So they're like, oh, see, the cutoff was, let's say, 37. See, you're 38, and your birthday's next month. That'll make you 39. You wouldn't qualify for this. Oh, I'm sorry. My birthday's actually 2 years earlier, or 2 years later. I screwed that up. I always, the 6s and 8s in America, I always get them confused. So it could be something like that, where they I've just made it in under the wire. Great. This app also contains information on how these illegals can get access to scholarships, grants, other organizations not through the government that'll help them pay for fees that are going to be required by the policy. This is an app that is going to simply help illegals game the system. Specifically laying out, this is how you can get free money from the government. And here's how you can get free money from other groups that are sympathetic to you to help you pay off those fines that you acquired when you were illegal, when you were doing the wrong things. We're going to help you out there. How outrageous is that? How can these people... Think about this for a second, folks. The ministers we've talked about, the labor organizations, the corporations, the elected servants in Congress, the immigrant advocacy groups. Think for a moment and ask yourself why all of those groups are fighting so hard for immigration, for an amnesty. No. Not their specific needs. We know they're being selfish. We know all of that. I'm not talking about that. Pull back for a moment and say, why is this their priority? That their selfish nature, their selfish needs and desires are more important to them than anything else? That's what we're hearing here. That's what all of this means. The people who've created this app, members of Congress, business executives, corporations, unions, all of these people, this is their issue. This is what they're fighting passionately for. Breaking laws, being immoral, all of these things, passionately fighting for something. Why aren't they passionately fighting for anything else? For you, for your job, for freedom, for America, for their faith, for God. Go down the list of things that they could be fighting this passionately for. And don't give me the ministers in there fighting for God because this is the moral thing to do. It is not the moral thing to do. Those ministers want you to simply be able to quiet your guilty conscience and their own guilty conscience for not going out and doing more to help their fellow man as individuals. They want to put this responsibility on the government. So this isn't for God. This isn't for their faith. Why are they fighting so hard against you? Because that's what it comes down to. If they were doing nothing, at least they wouldn't be fighting against you. They're fighting against you with each and every step of the way, saying, let's give more jobs to illegals. Let's give them more of your money. Let's forgive their bad behavior. Let's forgive their crimes. Let's teach them how to cheat the system and get more and more stuff. Why aren't they? Folks, this shouldn't even be an issue. John Boehner should be standing up today and saying, this is wrong. We're going to passionately fight for jobs. Or anything else that certainly would come higher on the list than this. Compassion? Where's their compassion for the people that don't have jobs in America, that have been screwed over because of the tax and spend policies of Democrats and Republicans for years? Where's their compassion for the people that lost their jobs because their job is now in China because of the environmental and high tax policies of both Democrats and Republicans for years? They have no compassion for you, but they tell me I'm supposed to have a compassion for somebody that's making it even more difficult to defend our personal freedoms, our borders, our way of life, and freedom in general. Making it more difficult to provide for our families. But I'm supposed to have compassion for them. Tell you what, I'll come over to your house tonight and steal everything you have and then say, you're supposed to have compassion for me and let me have it. I wonder, when these illegals that will no longer be illegals, when they suddenly have, when they get all of this stuff, will they be just as compassionate? Are they going to give most of what they have, even part of what they have, to people starving around the world? Are they going to say to those people starving around the world, sure, you got 25 million people from Southeast Asia that are being oppressed? Sure, come here, open borders, open it up, and just here, take from the government. We'll just rack up another $20 trillion in debt. You can take our jobs. Are they going to do that? No, suddenly they'll figure it. How dare you come here and take jobs? And you're getting free stuff, and I earned that. Then they'll wise up and get it. But until then, it's compassion.
It's amazing to me that we're even having to have this conversation, though. Where is John Boehner coming out with the press release saying dead on arrival? He doesn't have to bring any of this to the floor. Why is he doing it? What is his motivation? Is it for the country? Is it to do the right things? Of course not.
Either way, here's what you got to remember. They are putting themselves or whatever other their agenda is ahead of what's right, what's legal, what's moral, what's responsible, the welfare of their citizens, freedom, the American way. They're putting it ahead of all of that.
I think you said it best, too, when you said there's only one of two possibilities. John Boehner is either a progressive or a sellout.
He's a sellout or a progressive. You're right.
There's no other. I mean, there's no gray area between the two of them. He is either progressive and that, like you said, that weeping guy that wants to do the right thing and feel, or he is completely sold out for his own political
He's sold
career.
out for money, for campaign contributions, or he is that pinko commie, bed-wetting, mamby-pamby, hand-wringing, crying, orange-tinted, I've got to do whatever I can to help the children, the puppy dogs, and the rainbows, dirtbag in Congress. I'll let you decide. It's the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Not a puppy, a ninja, a dancing bird, or an angry kitty. Just a talking doc. This is the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson on the Blaze Radio Network.
Mercury.